All right. So in today's video, we have previously gotten our Linode working. We've got it running our new React project. We've got us being able to log in using Google in production. We've got a domain. The next thing we're going to start working on is getting our API actually working, because this app does nothing right now. If we try to add a test, we're going to notice it does nothing at all. So we can't actually do anything with this thing yet. So in today's video, we're going to make our first steps in that. We're going to actually have a couple things to do in order to actually get this running, including we're going to have to go back in the code and change some stuff around. But for now, we're just going to get a couple things going. So first, the end of this video, what we want to do is when we go to this API route, we actually want to see this actually hitting our API itself. So it should say, welcome to the Streak Tracker API project, something like that. And so we are going to be getting Postgres installed. We're going to be building our API. We're going to be migrating Postgres. And then we are going to be serving everything with Nginx. Everything that hits the API route, we're going to be having it hit our API. So let's just go ahead and get into it. We'll start a new chat with ChatGPT and we'll say how to install Postgres on a new virtual machine. So, and with that, we will come in here. Let's go in. I'm already actually within our virtual machine. I'm SSH'd into it. So we've already got that. So let's get our Postgres install actually working on the background. So this is going to be using, let's actually see, okay, we are gonna, at least in this video, we're just getting things set up using our test password and stuff like that. We are not going to be doing a whole thing with secret management and changing all our passwords. We're not going to do that yet. We're just going to use all the same exact the same stuff that we've been using. So here we go. Postgres is now installed. Now we're going to run some of this so we can verify it's running. We see it's active. So we have this new username named Postgres, but if we go into our API project, we are going to see that our database, it is getting things from this data source config, and we need to set a password and a user. So I believe our password, if we go into our YAML file, we actually want to get Postgres using this same stuff. So our user is Postgres, but we want this temp password to actually, we want to be using the password for Postgres as being that. So let's run this guy here. We're switching to our user, our Postgres user. Now we're running Postgres. It's good practice to secure Postgres installation by setting a password for the Postgres user. Type and confirm the password when prompted. So actually, let's see how to modify password for user in Postgres. So we're going to have an alter user. So we're going to log into Postgres. Let's exit out of this. I guess we can go into Postgres like this. And we're just going to do alter user Postgres with password is equal to test password. Oh, whoops, we don't need. Okay, so that's done there. How did we switch our user here? So let's go back to our root. It might complain. Let's see. Okay, you know what we're gonna do is we're gonna exit out of this because we switched this user. Okay, so if we're just exiting, okay, so we had logged in to our Postgres user. We're just back now. So we changed our Postgres user around, and we've got Postgres installed. So we'll come here, we actually can cross this guy off. And now the next thing we want to do is go into our API project and build it. So let's go to our API project here and let's look, how do we build stuff? This is most likely going to cause a problem already. In fact, I'm pretty sure we already can see it, but let's just go ahead and say npm install. We always gonna have to do that, and we'll see if this actually even works. We might need to be installing TypeScript globally or something like that. We'll see. Okay, so now npm install. Now if I do run build, let's see what we get from here. This is building TypeScript. Oh, we might have to actually install nodemon and stuff like that. These files are definitely, this file doesn't even exist here. It's actually in source. But so if we do ls, so we do have this distribute, but we're not actually running that, right? We could have actually served this ls dist, and we could be serving this. But for us, we're actually going to we're going to run this command. We're going to run some of this. We're going to have to modify a lot of this, like how we actually running our server and stuff like that. But anyways, we have built our project, and we're going to put one little guy right here. So we have built our project, but we have not migrated things up. So in order to migrate, we are actually going to need to run this guy here. So, but we don't need to run docker compose. We are simply going to run this command. Except if we run this now, we are probably going to get some errors. First off, all of our environmental variables are not there. Unable to open file, source database environment variable is not set. So we actually need to set quite a few of these. And what we're going to do is we're going to come into our YAML and we're just going to copy some of these out. So we are going to do database is equal to postgres. Database user is equal to postgres. Database host is equal to localhost. And we will call database password is equal to temp password. And then we're going to run this and see if we can actually run our tests, run our migration or not. Okay, so authentication failed for user Postgres. So it seems like, let's make sure that we've actually typed database password is equal to temp password. What we can actually do here as well is let's go ahead and log out our config just to make sure that what we're trying to run is actually coming through correctly. And it's very possible we just have not migration authentication failed for user Postgres. Okay, but it doesn't seem like our config is even being ran here, which is interesting. Perhaps we are not. No, if we weren't specifying this database here, we would be getting a different error. Database host. Perhaps we can actually get rid of this host. I'm going to assume that the problem is not. Actually, this is probably also going to give us a problem here because if we go to our config, our host is going to be empty. So password authentication failed for user Postgres. So let's go back to ChatGPT and let's make sure that we've actually switched our user. how to specify password for default Postgres on fresh install for default user Postgres. So log into Postgres. Okay. Let's run this guy. And this command opens up the password. I wonder if we can just view the password. Select role Postgres. Can we do that? No. Column role does not exist. Select user Postgres. I wonder if there's any extra schema or something like that that we can actually see. Wow, this guy is really slow right now again. Let's just stop this and we'll regenerate and see if this works. Is anything fast? Google's still working, so our internet is working. But things are not working again. Ugh, my internet is dying today. Okay. All right, so I will be back in just a short while we figure this out. Or maybe not. Maybe my internet's back here. So we're accessing, we're going to the Postgres user. We did that. Okay, alter user. Okay. I think we already did this before, but let's just temp password, I think was the name that we were going to go with. Temp PW. Okay. And then we're just going to exit and exit. Quit out of there. And let's see, we have a password of temp password. If we run this guy, okay, still authentication failed for user Postgres. Okay, I am going to take a look at this and we'll be right back. All right, back, and I was able to get the server actually connected to the server. So what I'm using now is we're using this node mon. So instead of migrating right now, I just wanted to get the server running and see if we could get that. I was getting the same exact errors of authentication errors. So I ended up actually using this other command here to alter the password for our Postgres user. And once I did that, things worked. So that was really the biggest change. So back to where we were trying to get our app actually migrated. So in order to do that, we'll go back to our Postgres. We're going to do npm run type rm migration run and use the database here. So we are already here and we can go back. It's a little bit slow right now. Oh, it's very slow. Everything is very slow right now. So database host equals local host, and then we're going to run our command. So this should be able to connect. All right, there we go. So there we go. It's running all of our commands or all of our migrations, and so now we're running there. And now if we go ahead and we'll run our node mon up. This will start our server. And can we see it? No, we cannot. So the other thing, the reason why, so even though our server is running, nothing is actually pointing that to, nothing is pointing stuff from our API route to our server. So we're gonna say how, um, using Nginx, how can we get every route starting with /API to point to an express server running on port 8000? Because that's what we're doing. We've got this server, and so every time we go and we hit /API, we want to take those requests and we want Nginx to actually fetch those requests and say, oh, they're API. So we want to reroute those to our API itself. So let's see what ChatGPT is saying. And how do we strip off the API? And so we're rewrite it to not include. So what this is saying, we're gonna have this location and we're gonna proxy. We're gonna forward things over. But what we also don't want to do is we don't want to, we want to strip off that API part. So let's see how to do that. So this is saying rewrite, this is stripping it off, and then we're forwarding it. So we're just going to take this guy and we are going to come in, we're going to do VI, and we're going to do sites available, and then we're going to do our buildingstreaks.com. And we're going to place this before our other block here. And let's see if this makes sense. So we're rewriting our API. We're taking the stuff that's after. That's what this circle, this parentheses is. So this is actually taking those things and we're storing it on this variable. And then we're going to forward that over to our Express server. So we're just going to go ahead and try that. And so we'll reload Nginx. It says we're okay. And, or we're going to check our config file, and this is going to reload Nginx. So now if we come here, we're still not going to get anything. So if we come to our API, we're getting a 502, and that's actually expected because we don't have our server running. So what we can do is let's get our server running on our API, and when we refresh, there we go. When we refresh, okay, we're still, oh, cannot get /API. So that looks like, so we're still loading here, and it doesn't look like we're actually stripping out if I had to guess here, it does not look like we're actually stripping things out in our, so let's just take another look at what is being stored in here. So we're proxying, forward request there, that looks fine. And the above still looks like it's, so what was it saying for us? Cannot get /API. Looks like it's still sending the API route. All right, maybe we'll get a different. Note the trailing slash here. Okay, so let's see. Do we have that? No, we don't. And let's just take this guy. And we will reload. Check this out. Let's reload Nginx. And we will rerun our server. When you include the trailing slash being passed, ensuring that the rewrite is used correctly. All right, we'll take their word for it for now. Let's go to API. We get a 500 internal server error. A little bit different. How does this look? So that's still there. So we're still with Nginx. So what if we do this? Oh, so if we add that extra slash, our project is working. So what if we did this tasks thing? Or if we did task forbidden? Okay, and that's what we would expect. So now we see that everything with this slash, and so our job in the future is going to be taking this URL and everywhere in our app is still, so we're logged in here, and if we add a task, let's see what we're actually trying to call. So test, and we're actually still not going to have a problem. That's because everything is referencing this localhost 8000. We actually need to change our URL to just be buildingstreaks.com/API, and then our existing, all of our new calls, our API calls. So let's come into our to-do list here, and we're gonna cross these off because these are now done. Hopefully this video is pretty informative. We are making a lot of progress though, and essentially what we're gonna do next is we've got an entire app working, and now we've just got to rewrite some of our files in our project, get them pulled in, get those changes pulled in to our app, and then we're going to restart, we'll rebuild, and our app should be working. Eventually then we'll have to build the continuous delivery pipeline and stuff like that, but in the next one we're just going to get the entire app working in production, and then we'll go from there. So I'll see you in the next one.